All right, Thomas. So looking at your stuff here, uh, you've got a good kind of process, a good kind of layout. Um, you want to really think about what your purpose is first. You said you wanted to create concept art of a cave. Illustration was planned to be used as a background, and it was the main color requirement was green. And so the issue that you've got going on is that what I would tell you to do is first start with um, blocking out your foreground, background, and middle ground. Okay, and so also be prepared to understand what your formatting is. This is still that old school TV monitor format, and so you are going to run into um, issues. And my cat's coming probably to bother me, so if you hear it squeak, ignore that. So here you're going to have like some old school issues where the formatting is not quite the proper size. So you can see here, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that from the background. And then the second thing I'm going to do is take that back piece of work and then just start blocking out this foreground. So now I have three pieces of foreground, background, and um, so you can see here when I cut off, you'll have these little trims here. But I have a slice of each particular background, foreground, and kind of aspect there. All right. And so the one thing I would tell you to do is, like, the color choices are fine, but you want to start solidifying up your stuff a little bit more, and that means basically going into uh, sorry. That means basically going into and picking your brush, and I just use I use a charcoal pencil, and it's kind of just this rough sketch. But what that means is go in and then lock your layers. Um, and so what I would do then is go through and like lock your pixels on your layers. And so if you've got all this bright light coming here, you need to let's sample some of this color light. So if you want this blue, what I would do is start with a soft hue, and let's just go and I'm just gonna kind of, so you can see how that kind of give me that rim light. Let's just kind of, and then come over here too, and you can see, oops, I pulled off a little bit more than I should have, but you can see that rim light really kind of accents those edges and kind of pulls out some of what you're trying to achieve there. Okay, and then go through and start cleaning up things. Like, so an example is like here you've got, let's clean up around that edge. So you refine things a little bit more. Things in the foreground should have a little bit more detail, spent a little bit more time on it, where things in the background should have a little bit less detail. Now, the other aspect too is that I see is that everything is bi-center or kind of central. And so um, if you look here, let's just kind of go right down the middle. So you've got your stairs down the middle, you've got your sword on this side, you've got the spike on this side, and so everything is kind of centered, you know, perfectly together. And so that kind of makes for a little bit, I don't want to say bland, but it kind of like it's a calming feeling, and you want to be aware of what mood you want to have. So if you want to have something like this, and I'm just going to kind of go through and grab this piece here, and I'm going to transform it smaller, like so. We're just going to transform that like so, and then on this piece here, I'm going to grab, oops, I'm going to grab and take out something like this. And I'm just kind of roughing this in there, getting a little bit of that color to match. And so do you see how by starting to push this piece over here, this little piece now starts becoming a little bit more interesting. And then you can also add in the reverse of this, and adding in something like this. And again, let's subtract and then add in a little bit of that light to it. So you can see here that reverse of this now kind of like makes it a little bit feeling dangerous, like going to the side, because you've got two sharp triangles. And then over here, I'm going to grab this and let's transform this a little bit bigger and a little bit over here. And so again, same thing, let's deselect, take a brush, and kind of get rid of that old. I'm just kind of roughing this in here. So now you can see that that's a little bit more prevalent and pushed in there. And then what you can do is let's take this here, this piece, and let's try and counterbalance it. So we're going to take this middle piece here and let's transform this, and let's bring it one over here a little bit, like so, and let's bring it down a little bit. And so with that brush, now I can take and go in and let's grab some of these colors here. And I'm just kind of roughing this out here. But do you see how by off-centering some of that stuff, you're getting a little bit better kind of area of effect going on? I'm going to grab a different brush. I'm not liking this one here. Alright, so here, a little bit of rough texture here. So now you see how by adding that in there, by putting that like kind of, okay, like so, you've got now that sense of a little bit, it's off, a little bit off balance, a little bit more kind of pushed together, and then it's just a matter of going through and then refining it. You've got your details in there that you need to put up in the foreground a little bit, but you want to try and off balance things to give it a little bit more of that kind of dangerous look. And so that's the things that I would tell you ultimately to just kind of work with and paint with, is just kind of block out some of those pieces. And then when you look at like structures, like elements like that, you want to, I would definitely tell you to take and like add some gradients in there. So just go with the gradient tool here. Let's do this one, and I think there we go. And then let's do a multiply here, and I'm going to just multiply it at like 20% or so. And so you can see here that by just changing these kind of aspects, that's going to give you a better kind of feeling. And then same thing here, let's add some of this light here, and I'm just going to create a new layer here, and we're going to go normal, and I'm just going to go like this. And so do you see how like just that little bit of gradient light adds a little bit more in there and kind of pushes it, and then I can transform that, just that kind of aspect to push in there, so you can get more unified aspects. And then don't feel afraid to repeat some of the elements. So you got the stalagmites or tights in there, and so I would just go through on that and just start adding some more in there, and that's pretty simple to do. Just but don't watch your tangents and things like that. I'm going to just add in just kind of add in some things like this. So you can start adding some of those dark elements here. And they don't have to be super dark. They just have to, kind of stand out. But they help frame your stuff a little bit more. And then again, if you're using these elements, add them back in someplace else around here. Even if it's just kind of a, like, let's see here. Even if we're just going in here like so, and adding in kind of a simple element like this. And so you can see here, something like that will kind of stagger things a little bit and add a little bit more depth to your middle ground and foreground. All right, so I hope that helps you out.